The 21st century seekers think you and me are fake. Or they spot a gap between what we say and how we live. They are quicker to bolt than any other generation. Do I need to remind anybody this morning that the unchurched generation of this day hates the big C word? Not cancer, commitment. It should not surprise us. It should not surprise us that people do not want to commit to anything or anyone today. They've grown up in a godless culture, a culture of abandonment, a culture that has taught them to not trust anybody. So, what if, when that kind of commitment is not there, and those kind of unchurched, godless seekers start visiting a church like Park Lane, what if a hint of heaven was to visit them every time they worshiped with us? What if a hint of heaven was to visit them every time they fellowshiped with us? What if every time they came into our presence as people of God, a hint of heaven visited them? Would that make a difference? I tend to believe it would. I tend to believe that if every time they were in our presence and what we believe is what we are, we're not just talking it, we're actually living it. We're authentic in our faith. If that was present every time we gathered together, no matter what kind of setting it was, and a hint of heaven visited with them, I believe that would help them with the commitment issue. So what would that look like? What would that look like? I think the Apostle Paul addressed that in the Corinthian church. There were some people in the Corinthian church who they loved spiritual gifts. They loved the outpouring, and who wouldn't? They loved when God's Spirit moved among them, and they loved the fact that, oh my goodness, the Lord is with us. And Paul said, be very careful that your experiences are not just emotional. Be very careful that every experience you have with the gifts are present are transformational. In other words, when you leave that particular setting, whether it's a celebration of worship or a prayer time or whatever setting it is, it could be a men's breakfast or a women's outing. It doesn't matter. When the Spirit of the Lord is there is liberty, and make sure that Spirit that is with you and those gifts that are in operation are transforming lives. So Paul wrote to the Corinthian church in chapter 14, verse 12. Watch the big screen. Paul said this, since you are eager for the gifts of the Spirit, read with me please, try to excel in those that build up the church. The Christian Standard Bible translates that same verse by saying, since you are zealous for spiritual gifts, seek to excel in building up the church. Let's read one more time with the comma is the word spirit and try. We'll start with try. Here we go. Try to excel in those that build up the church. With the word seek. Seek to excel in. What's that look like? What does that look like? Building up the church. I think what Paul is saying to you and to me is this: authenticity is a big deal to God and to His church.